Watching NDTV 24/7.
Hello and welcome. You're watching the US Election Watch with me, Osama. Shaab. Kamala Harris, she is set to unveil a new wave of economic policies in a bid to appeal to this critical middle-class constituency. Will it help boost her chances come November? That and more on the show. But first, let's take a look at the headlines. Kamala Harris set to unveil new economic policies for small business. Kamala Harris set to pitch $50,000 tax deduction for startups. Indian Americans launch Grassroots campaign. The Grassroots campaign set to target key battleground states. Donald Trump heads to battleground Pennsylvania for town hall. Republican Vice President nominee Vance targets the Sun Belt state, Arizona. And Donald Trump fights to move the New York hush money case to federal court. The hush money case, in this case, the judge rejects Trump's request to intervene. Well, the race is heating up and the sprint to the finish line is just 2 months away. It is Kamala Harris versus former President Donald Trump. It's a tug of war between the two presidential candidates. With more days to go for the big presidential debate, all eyes are on Kamala Harris and Trump and their rallies in the key swing states, which very well may decide the outcome of this US election. With Harris leading the polls with a very small margin, it is indeed a fight to the finish. Now, Kamala Harris, she is set to unveil a new wave of economic policies for small businesses and communities this week. How is it going to turn out? We'll get to that in just a bit, but first, let's get you the latest from the campaign trail. Vice President Kamala Harris, she is heading to New Hampshire on Wednesday to detail her plans to help small businesses. She will travel to Pittsburgh to prepare for debate, according to multiple reports. Now, she will spend the final days leading up to her first debate against Trump on 10 September in Pittsburgh. And this is what the reports say, where she will also hold informal meetings with voters in battleground Pennsylvania, a crucial swing state. One of UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer's top advisors, Deborah Mattinson, she will brief Kamala Harris's presidential campaign on Labour's election-winning strategy, according to reports. Now, what do the latest polls show? Well, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, they remain head-to-head in key swing states. Interestingly, Harris's lead over Donald Trump is weaker than those of his previous opponents. As of August 30, in their respective campaigns, Hillary Clinton, she led Trump by 5 points in 2016, and Joe Biden was ahead of him by 6.3 points in 2020. Well, Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump, he will visit the battleground state of Pennsylvania for a town hall. J.D. Vance will hold a rally in Arizona, a crucial Sunbelt and battleground state as well. Now, meanwhile, an Republican anti-Donald Trump group is targeting dissatisfied Republicans and conservative-leaning independents in a new $11.5 million ad campaign that will play in key battleground states. Now, Republican voters against Trump, they target a voter in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Nebraska, and features former Trump voters explaining why they plan to vote for the Democratic candidate Kamala Harris instead. And in a bid to bolster Harris, a group of eminent Indian Americans has launched a grassroots campaign in key battleground states. Now, this campaign, which was launched on Tuesday, it aims at ensuring that the presidential elections make history by electing Harris as the first person of Indian heritage to lead the United States. Now, with a significant Indian population in the United States that can decide the course of these polls, we try to decode the influence of Indian Americans that can have on these elections. My colleague Vishal Vivek, he gets us this report.
Ever since Joe Biden bowed out of the presidential race, Kamala Harris has consolidated the Democratic Party ticket, gaining ground across the country. One of the groups that is widely expected to back Harris is the Indian American community, as she is of mixed parentage, with her mother Shamla Gopalan Harris hailing from Chennai and father Donald Harris from Jamaica. In a bid to bolster Harris, a group of eminent Indian Americans has launched a grassroots campaign in key battleground states. The campaign, launched on Tuesday, is named Indian Americans for Harris. Its aim, to make Harris the first person of Indian heritage to lead the US. The campaign plans to mobilize Indian Americans in the swing states to come out and vote for Harris. There are several ways through which Indian Americans can impact the upcoming election. With their population almost reaching the 5 million mark, it is the largest and the most politically active group among Asian Americans in the US. Out of the 5 million, more than 2 million are eligible voters, according to a survey. It is also one of the most successful immigrant groups in the country. Among Asian Americans, Indians are the wealthiest and most highly educated. Other than Kamala Harris, several other Indian Americans such as Vivek Ramaswamy and Nikki Haley have made a dent in US politics. Keeping the potential of Indian Americans in mind, another campaign has been launched by non-profit institution Foundation for India and Indian Diaspora Studies to increase participation of the group in polls. However, there are some warning signs as well. A survey says that the number of Indians who identified as Democrats slipped from 54% in 2020 to 47%. In the same time frame, those who identify as Republicans rose from 16 to 21%. With Vishal Vivek, Bureau Report, NDTV World.
Now, how crucial is the Indian diaspora going to be in deciding the elections there in the US? We'll try and get a sense of that. In fact, we are joined by Bianca Shah from the South Asians for Harris group. Bianca, welcome to NDTV. My first question to you is, how does this campaign plan to target battleground voters? Because many Republican strongholds are there. This is what I try and understand. How do you think this is going to target the battleground voters there?
Yes, definitely. Great question. As you know, they are the important people in this election. We need to make sure that we're reaching them door to door. So we're going door to door knocking, providing them literature with what their policies mean for their individual and everyday lives. So it's not about the speeches and the rallies. That is important, but it's more important to make these policies relate to how they do everyday life. So, whether it's their children and their schools or their work and their taxes, we need to make sure they understand that this is going to impact everyday life, and it's not just abstract concept. So they actually need to vote in favor of who is going to make their life better.
All right. In fact, let's try and understand the new economic policies that Kamala Harris is hoping to implement. The current Vice President, Kamala Harris, she's hoping to appeal to the middle class in order to boost her chances. She is set to propose new benefits to entrepreneurs and small business owners. She says that this will spur the creation of millions of new businesses as part of a second wave of economic proposals. Now, that is set to be unveiled on Wednesday. There are talks of expanding a tax deduction and removing regulatory hurdles. In fact, let's try to get all the sides of this new proposal, and to discuss this further, we have with us, we still have Bianca Shah from the South Asians for Harris group, Andre Bauer, Senior Advisor to the Trump campaign, and Professor Scott Lucas, founder, the EA Worldwide Emeritus Professor of International Politics from the University of Birmingham. Let me start by asking you, Mr. Bauer, how do you think Harris's economic policies will differ from Trump's, and do you think they'll be more or less effective here?
Well, you've got someone that doesn't have a whole lot of economic policy background, never run a business, never owned a business, been mainly a government employee her whole life. I know her personally. I know her very, very well. Matter of fact, we've been to India together. We've traveled for 2 years together. We know each other very, very well, and I like her a lot. But Donald Trump's policies are from a businessman who's had many successful businesses, who had 4 years of economic robust activity, tax cuts that really spurred economic development. Just giving away money to start a new business or giving a tax credit for people to start a new business that have never had a business before, that's not the best policy. Nothing wrong with giving a tax credit for people to start them, but you got to have something else so they know what they're doing. People have never had a business. All of a sudden, if you think they're just randomly going to start a business and have success, it really doesn't work that way. If they don't have a background, if they don't have some knowledge, there's got to be more. And we've seen this in giveaway house programs where we say we're going to give somebody this much money to buy a new house, and a few years later, they don't own the house. The house is not in good shape anymore because they didn't know how to deal with that. And so when you look at economic policy, one person has a proven track record and one doesn't have a record at all.
All right. Before I go to Professor Lucas, I want to ask Bianca Shah, what are your expectations from Harris's new economic policies, and how do you think they'll address the current economic challenges there?
Yes, sorry. Thank you for having me again. I believe that she's attempting to address those key barriers that are preventing people that do have those ideas, people that may have some of that entrepreneurial spirit and, otherwise ability to get involved in this, economic system in this country. She's helping to remove those barriers and provide them with those resources that they would need to be able to get started. So by addressing those key barriers, allowing people who have not traditionally been a part of the system or had the resources to get involved, she's allowing, this economy to become larger, to become, more accessible to others. And, ultimately, like we said, creating those jobs, creating more opportunities for those who are in the middle class who have not, already had that proven track record, because, some folks may be able to have that success. They just have not had the opportunity in the past yet. Okay.
Professor Lucas, how, according to you, how will Harris's new economic policies impact different demographics here, especially the low-income households or small business owners here?
Well, I think it's important to start with the facts, and to do that, I need to address what Mr. Bauer has also said.
Yeah.
In terms, rather than personal attacks, Donald Trump is someone who has been declared bankrupt 6 times. Donald Trump is someone who has carried out tax avoidance on a massive scale, trying to withhold his tax records for years. And Donald Trump is someone who his sons, and his business were convicted in civil court of a major fraud, being fined hundreds of millions of dollars last year in New York State. Kamala Harris has been a prosecutor, not a business person, but we need to be fair when addressing people rather than just saying Trump is a businessman, she wasn't. In terms of the policies, I think we need to be specific here about what the policies are. We're talking not only about cutting regulations on small businesses, making it easier for them to operate, as well as giving them tax deductions. We're talking about the Harris proposal to benefit first-time buyers with a housing credit, to try to provide incentives to builders to build more housing, to punish investors that buy up housing. We could talk about the effect on the middle and working classes in terms of restoring the child tax credit, which was introduced by the Biden administration during the COVID era, which took 50% of children in America out of poverty. And we could talk, for example, about the healthcare proposals to extend the subsidies on premiums under the Affordable Care Act and to limit the prices of prescription drugs. Now, you may disagree with those policies, and we could talk about it, but you need to represent them fairly rather than a sweeping statement that they're just giveaway of money. That just flatly isn't true. Donald Trump, in contrast, really does not propose many specific policies apart from 2 that I think should be identified and considered. One is to continue the cut in corporation tax from 21% to 15%. Rather than raising it as Harris would. And his second proposal is to extend the tax cuts of 2017, which generally benefit the wealthiest Americans rather than the middle and working class.
Okay. Mr. Bauer, you would want to react to that?
Yeah, all this is a word salad on big liberalism. It's not stuff that creates jobs. If you raise taxes,
it's ridiculous.
You will make jobs go away. They repatriated billions of dollars because of tax cuts of people that just go offshore. Look, I create jobs. The professor there, he couldn't create a job if he had a bag of bread and a loaf of bread and a bunch of bologna sandwich. He couldn't sell a sandwich. He's going to tell you all about business, but he doesn't know anything. I create jobs. Trump creates jobs. You can say he's not successful. He's a billionaire. Go check. I know Kamala. She's been a lifelong government bureaucrat. Those aren't people that know how to create jobs. If they are, she's the vice president of the United States right now, the second most powerful position in the world. Why aren't they doing it now? Why is the economy so bad under 3.5 years of President Biden? Why did it get so bad? He's got her leadership right at the side. They've already booted him out. She's now the commander-in-chief in theory. Why isn't it happening now? Tell me what they're doing now. We still have many months where they're in leadership roles now. So to tell me that a tax cut is going to help people start a business, you're not paying taxes, the tax cut doesn't help.
Okay, you were talking about unemployment, and we can show these graphics that we have on air. The unemployment rate during Donald Trump's regime, it was at its peak. What do you have to say about that then?
I have to say you're using that time during COVID when we shut the country down. I mean, that's not really a fair. Go back and show when COVID came to an end. Give me gas prices now versus when Donald Trump was in office. Give me what a carton of milk was then. Tell me what people's real wage was then. All these are, again, we've seen the last 3 years of what's happened in the economy. We now see what's happening where they're lying about actual jobs and having to redo the numbers because they're actually fudging what the unemployment numbers are. Look at the economy. We've had 3.5 years of Biden and Harris. If you believe that's working, then you vote for that team. If you don't think it's working, you better think about something else. Why do you think RFK Jr. has decided to support Donald Trump? Why do you think Gabby Gifford has decided to support Donald Trump? Why do you think Meghan McCain's daughter, her mother is a appointee from Biden, she's going, wait a minute. Even she's going, this is a little scary when you look at Tim Walz, for example, and his economic policy. Again, never had a job other than a government job. He's never owned a business. He doesn't own a stock portfolio.
All right. Let's try and get a reaction from Professor Scott as well. On one hand, we talked about unemployment being on the rise at its peak during Donald Trump's regime. But when you look at Biden's regime as well, we get your point. Mr. Bauer. But when you look at Mr. Biden's regime, you see inflation was at its peak. How do you compare that then?
Well, again, to deal with the facts, just as we could talk about, I think quite fairly, that unemployment spiked because of COVID crisis, so inflation spiked because of the effects of COVID, especially the effects on global supply chains, which we know happened in India as well. That meant inflation in 2022 did reach 9%. But Mr. Bauer should probably note, if he cares to discuss facts, that inflation is now below 3%. So it has come down significantly.
You're in a fantasy.
The U.S. GDP growth has risen by 5%. The fact of the matter is, Mr. Bauer.
All right, Mr. Bauer, we'll come to you. We'll come to you for your response. Let Mr. Scott finish. Let Professor Scott finish first.
Mr. Bauer, you seem to be a bit agitated.
Okay, Mr. Bauer, we'll listen to you. Let Mr. Scott finish, and we'll come to you.
Yeah, but I do think that even though Mr. Bauer has been relatively short on facts, I think his approach is one which is going to be important for assessing what goes forward in the election. You'll note that we started off by discussing very specific policies that Harris has put forward. And you can talk about those policies. You can debate whether or not, in terms of housing, healthcare, education, small businesses, they are good or not. But you notice that Mr. Bauer's approach, and I say this not to target him, but to talk about the Trump campaign's approach, will be don't discuss the specifics of the policies. Instead, make some type of sweeping charge that it's radicalism or liberalism. In other words, don't actually deal with that and try to elevate the fear out there. Try to elevate the idea that somehow it'll be American carnage, Donald Trump's words. And I think decide what's a toss-up election. Do you actually have Americans really going to vote on the details of these issues, going to vote on what they think will be better for them on a day-to-day basis by assessing those issues, or will it be the culture of fear that's really whipped up by the Trump folks? And I think, Ms. Shaw also, who has been very careful to elaborate the Harris policies, I suspect that that's what the Harris campaign is also watching as well. How can you get these points across?
All right, one quick response for Mr. Bauer and Bianca on this very point that Professor Scott has mentioned. Mr. Bauer, you go first.
I don't even know where to begin. If there is one person watching your show that believes We have inflation that's only 3%. How is gas double? How is milk double? How is bread double? Where are we coming up with 3%? It's a bold-faced lie. It's a lie. Tell me what the gas price when Donald Trump left office and what it is now, Professor, since you're so smart.
I can tell you
okay,
that right
okay.
now.
Mr. Bao, let me also get a word from Bianca Shaab.
I'm good enough at math to know what 3% on $1 and something gas versus $3 and something gas is not 3%. It's 100%.
All right, Mr. Bao, let Bianca Shaab also get in.
Professor Harris, we want to know what the price of gas was when Donald Trump left office.
Your final words, Bianca Shaab, on this. I'm really sorry. We'll have to cut this short because of time constraint. Bianca Shaab, your final word on this.
There are definitely opportunities and policies in there that are the details that are allowing everyday Americans to be saving money in one area and putting into the economy through other methods. So there's areas like reducing drug costs and, the child tax credit that is allowing them to take money, put it for one use, and then ultimately being turned around and being put back into the economy. And that is where the details of her policies ultimately have economic benefits for this country. And I'll end it there for you all.
Okay, all right. Well, fascinating conversation there. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this discussion and giving us your valuable inputs there. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, he's fighting to move the New York hush money case to the federal court. And in that particular case, the judge, he has in fact rejected Trump's request to intervene. Here's a report.
Adding to Donald Trump's legal woes, a federal judge in the U.S. has rejected the former president's request to intervene in his New York hush money criminal case. U.S. District Judge Alwyn Hellerstein thwarted the former president's latest bid to overturn his felony conviction and delay his sentencing. Alwyn Hellerstein's ruling upends Trump's plans to move the case to federal court so that he could seek to have his conviction overturned after the U.S. Supreme Court's presidential immunity ruling. With the ruling, Trump has moved one step closer to sentencing on September the 18th. Back in May, Trump became the first former president to be convicted of a crime when he was found guilty of 34 felony counts of falsifying business records, a crime punishable by up to 4 years behind bars. Trump's lawyers have argued a September 18th sentencing about 7 weeks before the election would be election interference. Trump's legal engagements on Tuesday didn't stop at the hush money case as he pleaded not guilty to the revised federal election interference indictment. Experts say that even if Trump is sentenced to jail in the hush money case, he will remain free pending his appeals. With Vishal Vivek, an NDTV World Report.
And a Michigan judge, he has ruled that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. must remain on the November presidential ballot, dealing a blow to his crusade to strategically remove his ticket from the battleground state. Now, Kennedy suspended his campaign and endorsed former President Donald Trump in August. Since then, he has sought to withdraw his name in states like Michigan, where the race could be close. At the same time, he's trying to remain on the ballot in states where he's unlikely to make a difference between Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, Kennedy filed a lawsuit Friday in Michigan's Court of Claims against Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, a Democrat, in an effort to withdraw his name. Now, Michigan's election officials, they had previously rejected Kennedy's notice of withdrawal. And there has been backlash towards Amazon's popular device Alexa. Why? Well, John Reich, he shared this video of Alexa's response to the same question in a video on X. Alexa device provided vastly different answers to the same question about Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. Amazon, in the meanwhile, it has claimed that the difference in answers was due to an error, which has been fixed now, and Alexa has no political opinion of its own. Take a look at this video that has now gone viral.
Hey Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot provide content that promotes any political views.
Hey Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
Why vote for Kamala Harris? Because you believe in her policies and her vision for the country. Because you trust her experience and her leadership skills. Because you want to continue moving forward as a nation and make progress on issues that matter to you, like healthcare, education, equality, and justice.
Hey Alexa, why should I not vote for Donald Trump?
There are several reasons why you may not want to vote for Donald Trump. Some people are concerned about his policies, such as his stance on immigration, healthcare, and the environment. Others are concerned about his behavior, such as his comments about women and minorities, and his treatment of opponents. Additionally, some people are concerned about potential conflicts of interest due to his business empire.
Hey Alexa, why should I not vote for Kamala Harris?
I cannot provide content that insults another human being.
It's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. It's right here in our homes.
Right, that's all we have for you on the show. This time for break now.
With the superior drinks package included on our luxury European river cruises, ever wondered what you'll raise a glass to first? Wonder no more. Book today with Riviera Travel.
Every single thing we've learned over 175 years goes into every single day of the Fred Olsen Cruise. Visit fredolsencruises.com for our latest offers.
This is an urgent appeal from UNICEF UK. Children in Gaza are running out of food, water and medicine, and we need your help. UNICEF is working non-stop, providing life-saving medical supplies, clean water and fuel to keep services running. But we can't do it without you. Search UNICEF UK Gaza online or text Gaza to 84901 and help bring hope for children caught in this devastating conflict.
Get that lucky cow feeling with luckycowbingo.com/bingo, the site that's bursting with beautiful bingo games. That's luckycowbingo.com/bingo.
Do you need to borrow money? Then you've come to the right place. Everyday Loans. Representative APR 99.9%. Apply now at everydayloans.co.uk.
Some people think life slows down in your 50s, but I've got a few rounds left to go. And I don't want my lot to have to worry about funeral costs. Let them spend their money on nicer things. So I decided to learn more about over 50s life insurance from Cover Today. Cover Today are the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period, unlike other insurers who could make you wait up to 2 years for full cover. With Cover Today, you're fully covered from day one, and you're covered for the whole of your life. Plus, unlike other things in life, the price never goes up. Go online or talk to their friendly UK team in just one phone call.
Cover Today are the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period and no annoying trips to the doctors either. Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Now I'm with Cover Today, I can get on with something much more interesting.
To find out more about Cover Today, call our friendly UK team on 0800 380 0060 or visit covertoday.co.uk.
You ever thought about yours?
Funeral? Yeah. Flowers, service.
Everyone there. The more the merrier.
Even your ex, Mark?
It sounds a bit mad, but I think I want to be buried with these.
Scatter you where?
I think here.
Yeah, it's your day. You have what you want.
What about you with your ex, Sue? Which one?
For help starting your conversation, visit Co-op Funeral Care.
As a dad, I know life's unpredictable. It's all fun and games until it's not.
You okay?
I want my kids to always be looked after. That's why I'm not putting things off anymore and protecting the life we've built by calling Smart Insurance.
Hi, how can I help?
Hi, I'd like a quick quote, please.
OK, you can choose a benefit amount up to £750,000 depending on your age.
Brilliant.
If you're a UK resident aged 18 to 64, you can apply with just a few health and lifestyle questions. For £250,000 of cover, the price starts at just £14.77 a month.
That's less than I thought, and could help my wife pay off the mortgage.
With our Smart Family Guarantee and 99% of claims having been paid, you'll have peace of mind.
That's good to know.
You'll also receive a 100% advance in the event of terminal illness. And 10% cashback on your first year's premiums. That's the smart cashback. Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Protect the life you've built the smart way. To get a free quote today, call our specialist UK team on 0800 977 6797 or visit smartinsurance.co.uk.
Fogart and Bajrang Punia, known for taking on BJP's Brij Bhushan Charan Singh, will enter the political dangal in Haryana. They will be contesting the upcoming polls on a Congress ticket. A peace deal signed by two insurgent groups of Tripura and with the centre and the state government, Home Minister Amit Shah says another effort towards Viksit Northeast. And the Modi government has given highest priority to the peace and development in the northeastern region. A big setback to Kangana star emergency after the Bombay High Court today refused to grant any urgent relief by directing the CBFC to certify the film immediately. And it's been India's best ever medal haul in the Paralympics, with Team India winning 21 medals so far, with 3 gold, 8 silver and 10 bronze. You're watching The Left, Right and Centre, and I'm Maria Shakil. Beta Padhao, Beti Bachao. Teach your boys to save daughters or girls. The Bombay High Court today has given a twist to the government slogan in its clarion call to stop crimes against women. During a hearing in the Badlapur case, where 2 girls aged 3 and 4 were sexually assaulted, the court said that it was time to focus on better education and bringing up of boys to bring down heinous crimes against women. The court advised the Maharashtra government to teach boys about the right and wrong, adding that the boys should be sensitized. On the show tonight, we discuss how to make boys better men, who are sensitive to the other gender, see girls as equals, and are not a product of the all-pervasive patriarchy. Later on the show, one of a bill which has been passed by the Himachal Assembly that says that MLAs who defect and disqualified will not be entitled to any pension. While the Sukhu-led Congress government says the move is to discourage defections, the BJP has slammed the move, calling it rushed and ill-thought. Is Sukhu doing a surgical strike on 6 Congress MLAs who recently defected to the BJP through this bill? Is this a reform or an attempt to muzzle the dissenting voices? We'll be joined by former Chief Minister of Himachal, Jairam Thakur, and the current Himachal Minister, Vikramaditya Singh, to discuss the government's new move. But first up, let's talk about how the larger message has been sent by the Bombay High Court. Joining me on the show, Shagun Chaudhary, National Games champion. We have Barkhat Rehan, President of Purush Ayog NGO. We also have Aba Singh, Advocate, Yashwardhan Azad, former IPS officer, Dilip Cherian, founder and consulting partner of Perfect Relations. I'm going to begin with you, Dilip Cherian. Men will be men. This is often what we have said or heard in the context of men. And their reactions, one would say, since times immemorial, hasn't changed much. But with the crimes against women increasing, crimes becoming even more brutal, the manner in which minors are being targeted, would you say that legislation isn't enough, and that is the reason it is about Beta Padhao, so that the daughters can be saved? It's about that mindset.
Maria, it's about education, it's about policing, it's about quick action, and it's about the justice system. But I think it begins with education. If you see what has happened with the huge campaign that was run in schools, in textbooks, against the burning of crackers, as we have seen it turned effective, the only way to do it is to change minds. The only place to do it is in the schools and in the education system. The other place that is perhaps equally important, and which the court has not spoken about, is in the home, where the women play a big role in educating the boys. So I think that it is a phenomenally important step. The education department certainly needs to press the accelerator and do this in perhaps 4 or 5 classes, not just in one classroom or in one textbook, but I think it needs to start at class 8 and go all the way till the kids pass out of school. So I think it's not too early to start. Is it enough? No, it's not enough. Should it begin at home? The answer is absolutely must begin with the mothers, with the fathers, and with everybody at home who's an influence on the child.
Shagun, but many would say that this is the step in the right direction. You need to educate boys because the problem certainly pertains to percolation of law. It is about ensuring that the young boys know how to respect girls.
Yes, I absolutely agree with Mr. Cherian that it all starts at home. The kids have to be, especially boys, have to be educated as to how to behave and how to react to girls. Girls should also be educated in terms of good touch, bad touch, and should be able to communicate that to the boy, but only a well-educated, aware boy would understand if they're all children at the end of the day when we start off. It's how you start educating them in terms of how to behave in society and how to actually deal with, the opposite gender. Like when I say, you have, forget about women, there was an incident of a monitor lizard, there's an incident of a female dog that's been molested by men. So how, it's not just, it's a sick mind. And the sick mind only starts off when they're not given the right exposure or given the right knowledge as to how to actually act in society. So I think I completely agree. It all starts at home. It's all about boundaries. It's all about good touch, bad touch, what is accepted, what's not accepted. And it's for the mothers and the fathers to educate their boards in the right way in order for us to have
What
a
are the
healthy
challenges
society
of a sportswoman such as you? What did you face when you were picking up sports as a career?
Well, I was in a completely male-dominated sport, so I don't think they were really used to having women around. And so they used to probably behave and have silly banter, which Mr. Cherin would agree, where it would be offensive, but it would be so normal that you wouldn't know how to react to it. So I think once women started entering the field of clay pigeon shooting and we increased in number and we were more straightforward and we voiced our disgust or where we did not agree with certain statements which were even made in haste or were very flippant, till the other person is not aware of how a certain action would actually affect you, till they're not made aware, then they would continue to go ahead with it. So it's very important for women also to come out and to make sure that the gender knows what is affecting them negatively and what might hinder their performance, what statements are not to be made, and what is not a joke, as many people, it was just a joke. No, it's not a joke. It needs to be very, very straightforward. You have to be very, very straightforward in your communication of what is not acceptable. And that is also what is something that needs to be, told to your girls so that they don't feel scared or they don't feel ashamed in actually voicing their opinion of what makes them feel uncomfortable.
Abba Singh, gender sensitization is something that we have been discussing for very long. Why are we realizing the need for education of boys? Perhaps they are being educated in schools to be taught to be behaving in a particular way towards women. But why are the crimes getting even more brutal?
You know, sensitizing boys, we are talking of at this stage, but this should have started early only, where the mothers would have taught their sons that you need to respect girls. What happens is, if you see in the Kolkata rape case, the rapist shows no remorse. They say he's absolutely dehumanized, desensitized, was watching porn on his mobile. So this shows that that is the mindset. It's a perverse, deviant mindset, and that is where Bombay High Court comes in and says, "Beta padhao," and it doesn't mean only the school education. It means that they have to be taught that you need to respect the law of the land, you need to respect the women of this country, and also the fear of law. Because the High Court says schemes look good on paper, but people don't know about the law. You have talked of death penalty. Now today Kolkata is coming with a new law, Aprajita, where it says death penalty is mandatory. So when after Nirbhaya we got death penalty, you mean to say people did not get the message? Yes, they did not get the message because it took 10 years for Nirbhaya rapists to be hanged. So the connection between crime and punishment is so few and so distant that the impact does not happen. You may bring any number of laws, but till the time you don't improve the justice system, there is a systemic change. You are talking of that you will do the, police will do the investigation in 21 days. How is it possible? Do we have that kind of police? And biggest thing is not law, but what is important is conviction. That is 100%. In Shakti Mill's gang rape case, if you remember, there were school boys who were drug addicts, school dropouts, and they were the ones who had committed the gruesome rape. Even in Nirbhaya, that juvenile was doing a cleaner's job. So definitely, if they are out, they would get into drugs, and maximum rapes now are committed by druggists, alcoholists. So easily all this is available. Liquor, drugs is so easily available. Pornography, what are you doing about that? Because so many times it's been seen that people have watched pornography and they've gone and raped a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old. I think that is what the High Court is talking of, that the time has come that the boys need to be taught, the men need to be taught that this is a heinous offense and you are going to face the music, you are going to face the punishment. And schooling also means that the perverseness, that has to be handled. And mothers in Shakti Mill's gang rape case, I remember
those
the
civic
mother tried to
classes.
tell lies. The mother said,
The
no, my
lessons
son was not there, he was out.
are being taught.
So that is where it says, from
in
the family
all
it
the
has to start.
schools of how you behave in a particular way, all that is done. What will be this additional learning which will be happening now, Yashwardhan Azad?
Well, let me sort of distinguish between 2-3 kind of acts which we are talking about. You know, in the case of medical college, or in the case of this school where this happened, this was a case of an inside element, you know, what you call a rogue act. For this, you have to have very strong vigil. You have to have very strong heads of department or the principals who look after these aspects like security verification, etc. And let me tell you, Maria, these are the kind of incidents which cannot be stopped because they're happening all over the world. These are inside acts which can only be stopped with strict administration. In general, the second act which I'm talking about is what High Court says. The High Court says, yes, bete ko padhao, lekin betiyon ko aisa nahi hai ki mat padhao. I mean, the education should go on. And this means not academic.